Beyond the Gates spoilers tease that Dani Dupree recently mustered the courage to confide in her older sister, Nicole Dupree, about her clandestine affair with Andre Richardson, a revelation that threatens to shatter long-held bonds and ignite a fierce sibling rivalry. The morning air still held a faint chill as Dani stood beneath the wide arch of the Dupree estate's front veranda, her trembling hand cupping a porcelain teacup. Nicole arrived moments later, her stride brisk, curiosity alight in her eyes as she noted the uncharacteristic pallor of her younger sister's cheeks. Dani's voice caught as she began, each word weighted with both hope and dread. "I'm seeing someone." Nick, the confession lingered between them like the first note of a dirge. Nicole's brow furrowed, her grip on the teacup tightening until porcelain threatened to fracture. For Dani, this was the most vulnerable she had ever felt. Under the lofty gables and ivy-clad walls of their family home, she had laid bare the secret that Andre, her heart's hidden lodestar, had coaxed her to share. At first, Nicole's reaction was a stunned silence, a brittle pause charged with the electricity of betrayal. The news that her sister had fallen for Andre Richardson, her own nephew, by marriage felt like a rupture in the fabric of family decorum. Memories of family gatherings and holiday dinners flooded Nicole's mind. The way she had watched Andre's boyish grin light up the room, the easy camaraderie he shared with Dani when he was just a polite teenage cousin visiting for the summer. How had the lines blurred so completely? How had the nephew she'd once tucked into bed after nightmares become the man her sister adored? A tremor ran through Nicole's conscience as she recalled the Gallagher family code. Blood ties were not to be entwined with passion. Any transgression came at a steep price. Yet Dani sensed that Nicole's anger stemmed not only from societal taboo, but also from protective love. "I was afraid to tell you," Dani confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know you'll judge me." But Nicole's eyes were a storm of conflicting emotions: love, disbelief, fury, sorrow. She remembered Bill Hamilton's abandonment of Dani only months before, when her husband cast her aside for someone younger. The wound of that betrayal still bled fresh. Dani's fragile heart had only just begun to heal when Andre's gentle attention stirred old echoes of hope. Now, her sister risked that carefully rebuilt foundation, and Nicole felt a tempest rage within her. Over coffee in the rose garden, Nicole weighed her sister's happiness against the potential fallout. "He's family, Dani," she finally said, voice tight. "And you know what that means." Dani's fingers turned the rim of her cup into a blur. "I know," she admitted. "But Andre and I, it's real. He's kind, he's patient, and he makes me feel alive again." Nicole's expression softened at the sincerity emanating from Dani's luminous eyes, yet she could not overlook the shadow creeping behind that light, the specter of judgment from friends, from their mother, from the tight-knit community that prized propriety above all. Nicole's next words fell like stones into the quiet. "I'm worried for you. If this goes public, people will talk. They'll say you've lost your mind again." She thought of Bill's whispers of mercy when they divorced. "Don't make a scene." Nicole feared history repeating itself, the pitying glances, the murmured condemnations. "And if Andre decides to leave you as Bill did," she broke off, unable to finish the sentence. Dani's gaze wavered. "I trust him," she murmured, but even as the words left her lips, doubt flickered in her eyes. As if summoned by Nicole's hesitation, Andre Richardson appeared at the edge of the garden, his broad shoulders framed by morning light. Dani's heart stuttered at the sight of him. He approached with that earnest smile she knew so well, but beneath it lay the tension of a man torn between passion and obligation. Nicole's eyes narrowed, and without a word, she turned away, leaving Dani and Andre alone. Later that day, Nicole sought out Andre in the library. The Richardson family's ancestral shelves loomed high, their leather-bound spines bearing witness to generations of success and scandal. She found him leafing through an old volume of agricultural treatises in ironic pursuit for a man whose interests now lay in matters of the heart. Pulling the chair across from him, she squared her shoulders. "We need to talk," she said. Andre's jaw clenched. He braced himself, as if preparing for impact. Nicole laid her cards on the table, concern for Dani's well-being, anxiety over community perception, and the belief that Andre should be seeking a partner more age-appropriate, someone less entangled with his extended family. She accused him gently yet firmly of endangering Dani's fragile sense of self, reminding him that the Dupree name would suffer if rumors of impropriety spread. At each point, Andre listened with a solemnity born of genuine care. When she finished, the silence between them stretched taut. Finally, he spoke. "I love Dani. I know it's complicated, and I know what people might say. But I'm not here to play it safe. I want what's real." His voice shook with sincerity. Nicole's gaze softened, yet her concern remained. "And what if it all falls apart? Who will pick up the pieces?" Andre's reply was measured. "I won't let her down." But Nicole's lips pressed into a thin line. She sensed that love's promise often buckled under real-world pressures. Meanwhile, the undercurrent of attraction between Andre and Ashley Morgan simmered just beneath the surface of this familial storm. Ashley, a nurse whose quiet strength had once caught Andre's eye, had recently ended her long-term relationship with firefighter Derek Baldwin. Word had spread through the tight-knit township that Derek's inclination toward risk had collided tragically with his own demons, leaving Ashley to navigate heartbreak and professional ambition in equal measure. Unbeknownst to Dani, Andre's unspoken feelings for Ashley had been kindling since the story began, an ember kept alive by late-shift fundraisers at the Rusted Spur and chance encounters at the community health fair. Today, as Andre left the library in the early afternoon, he found Ashley seated in the sunlit window of the same estate coffee shop where Dani had practiced her watercolor techniques. Ashley's dark hair caught the light like tapers of onyx, and her smile, reserved yet inviting, flickered at his approach. She rose as he entered, greeting him with a warmth that made his chest tighten. "Andre," she said softly, gesturing for him to sit. He obliged, heart thudding. They spoke at first of trivialities: upcoming night shift schedules, the health clinic's need for volunteers, but the air between them buzzed with something unspoken. Ashley's eyes lingered on him as though searching for an answer he had yet to articulate. Finally, she broke the silence. "I heard about Dani and you." The words dropped like stones. Andre's stomach twisted. "You did?" Ashley reached across the table, brushing her fingertips against his hand. "I'm sorry you're caught in this. But I can't pretend I'm not relieved." Her confession landed between them, weighty with implication. Andre's pulse raced. Relief? For her? Or for him? Across town, Dani sat alone at her easel in the Dupree carriage house turned art studio. Sunlight filtered through tall windows, painting her canvas with diagonal ribbons of light. She dabbed delicate blushes of pink onto a portrait of blooming peonies, but her mind remained ensnared in the morning's revelations. Bill's shadow loomed large. The gates of her heart, once closed and bolted after his betrayal, had creaked open again under Andre's gentle coaxing. Could those gates stay fastened against the winds of gossip and doubt? As she considered calling Andre, her phone buzzed with a single message from Nicole: "I still worry. Call me when you can." Her chest tightened with conflicting loyalty as to her sister, to her own newfound happiness. The weight of Nicole's disapproval pressed on her heart like an iron gauntlet. She set her brush aside, fingers stained with paint and doubt alike, and stepped onto the gallery balcony to gaze down at the manicured lawns below. Somewhere beyond the gates, Andre and Ashley might be forging a connection that would rend her world further. At dusk, Dani met Nicole again in the family's greenhousian oasis of tropical blooms and humid air that always soothed her nerves. Today, however, the scent of jasmine and rose failed to calm her racing thoughts. Nicole moved among the ferns with a determined grace. Without preamble, she said, "I spoke to Andre. Dani's breath caught. Nicole's tone was wary as she continued, "He said he loves you. But I saw the look he gave Ashley this afternoon." Dani's heart sank. "What look?" she asked, voice small. Nicole paused by an orchid, tilting the flower gently. "The look he gave me when I warned him about you. It was resentful." Dani's hand flew to her mouth. "You think he resents me?" Nicole's shoulders tightened. "I think he's torn. And I'm trying to protect you from being the next woman he leaves." The words landed like a blow. Dani staggered, vision blurring. Bill's jilting promise echoed in her mind, and she wondered if love was simply a prelude to abandonment. Tears welled, but she blinked them back, afraid to feed Nicole's sense of vindication. Nicole stepped closer, her voice softer now. "Please understand, I only want what's best for you. I know you've been hurt before," and Dani interjected, voice trembling, "You almost destroyed me." The confession escaped in a rush, the hurt of years passed raw between them. Nicole winced, guilt flooding her features. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "But this," she gestured between them, "this could ruin you again." That night, Dani lay awake in her childhood bedroom, moonlight tracing the contours of her quilt in silver. Images of Andre and Ashley, of Nicole's pleading eyes, of Bill's cruel last words, danced behind her eyelids. Each memory felt like a door clanging shut on her hopes. She forced herself to rise, retreating to the small writing desk by the window. There, she poured her anguish onto the page, words flowing in a cathartic stream. Why does loving feel like stepping onto a tightrope stretched high above judgment? Downstairs, Nicole found Andre waiting on the veranda, dusk's glow haloing his silhouette. She steeled herself for another confrontation. "He loves you," she began, not unkindly. "But he's confused." Andre's brows knitted. "I'm not confused about her." Nicole nodded. "About Ashley?" His silence answered. "You can't ignore what's been between you two since the beginning." Andre's gaze dropped. He remembered the spark in Ashley's eyes when they'd shared that cautious dance across the community hall's parquet floor months ago. He felt shame lacing his apologies to Dani. Nicole's heart ached with his sister's compassion as well as frustration. "I won't stand by and watch you break Dani again." Andre's jaw clenched. "I love her," he insisted. "But I won't stand in the way of who I am." Nicole realized that both of them teetered on precipices of their own, making Dani clinging to hope that love could conquer history, Andre torn between two ardors, herself desperate to shield her sister from another fall. As night deepened, each character lay awake, wrestling their demons under the same canopy of stars. Dani wondered if she could ever trust her heart again. Nicole trembled with the responsibility of her warnings, questioning whether she had been too stern. Andre felt the weight of two-world family duty and personal desire pulling him apart. And Ashley, back in her apartment strewn with medical journals and half-finished canvases, wondered if she should speak her truth or step away to spare them all further pain. Thus, the gates remained ajar. Chance and choice coiled in every corridor of the Dupree and Richardson estates, promising that the dawn would bring reckoning, not closure, and that the spill of dawn's first rays would illuminate truths none of them were yet ready to face. The first rays of dawn found the Dupree carriage house bathed in pale gold, but inside, Dani's world remained shrouded in a soft, suffocating gray. Days had passed since Nicole's ultimatum and Andre's confession of divided loyalties. Dani had retreated into herself, pouring her heartache onto canvas after canvas, her art studio transforming into a gallery of fractured petals and twisted vines, metaphors for the love she had embraced and the pain she feared would swallow her. But this morning, the muted light offered a flicker of something new: resolution. She rose from her work table, brushing flecks of cobalt and rose across her paint-splattered apron, and dressed with deliberate calm. There would be no more hiding. She would forge ahead, claim her truth unapologetically. With that thought warmed in her chest, she stepped into the courtyard, breath pluming in the cool air. The world felt suspended between winter's memory and summer's promise, as if inviting her to choose which season to live in. Today, she decided she would confront the tangled knot of love, loyalty, and betrayal that bound her family together. Across town, Nicole Dupree stared into her vanity mirror, her reflection alert, resolute. The storm of emotions she'd wrestled danger at Dani's secret, fear for her sister's heart, frustration with Andre's divided affections had given way to clarity. She would not stand by and watch Dani break, nor would she allow Andre to shirk the responsibilities of his choices. Today, Nicole planned to sit down with both Dani and Andre together, hoping that a shared conversation might heal rather than widen the rift. She selected a deep green blouse, its hue a nod to renewal, and fastened a simple locket at her throat, a talisman of sisterly devotion. Andre awoke in the Richardson guest wing with a headache that throbbed like a drumbeat of indecision. The night's dream had replayed Ashley's dark eyes and Dani's tear-streaked face in alternate scenes, as though his subconscious refused to choose between them. He rose, squeezed the locket Nicole had given him, a gift meant to remind him of family bonds, and left his room. In the hallway, footsteps echoed. Ashley slipped from her own quarters, clad in loose slacks and a worn cardigan. Their eyes met, apology and yearning mingling in her expression. "Morning," she said softly. "Morning," he replied, voice rough. "Coffee?" she offered, nodding toward the estate kitchen. He hesitated only a heartbeat before following. As they walked, the hush of ancient tapestries and leather-bound volumes imparted gravity to every step. In the kitchen, Ashley moved with quiet ease, preparing 2 mugs of steaming brew. She handed one to Andre, fingers brushing his for a flash of warmth and guilt. He lifted the cup, but almost spilled it. "Thanks." She watched him, brow furrowed. "You're going to fix it, aren't you?" His jaw clenched. "I have to." She set her own mug down, crossing to stand before him. "Then start today, before it all falls apart." Their conversation hung in the air as they exited into the Richardson rose garden. A breeze whispered through the petals, scattering a few to the dew-kissed grass. Andre drew in a breath, steeling himself. He wouldn't let his fear dictate his actions. Not again. Later that morning, the Dupree greenhouse stood as a sanctuary where Nicole and Dani had weathered countless childhood storms. Today, its glass panes framed a more somber tableau, Nicole perched on a wrought iron bench, hands clasped, waiting. Dani arrived in a simple sundress that contrasted sharply with her emotional disarray. Her eyes reddened, hair loosely tied back. She hesitated at the threshold, watching her sister's poised figure. "Come sit," Nicole invited. Her voice carried neither accusation nor pity, only concern. Dani sank beside her, knees tucked under her, and watched butterflies drift among the ferns. Nicole exhaled. "I asked him to meet us here." Dani's heart clenched. "He agreed." "Yes." Nicole paused. "He cares about you too much to refuse." Dani searched her sister's gaze for a flicker of judgment. Instead, she found steadiness. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, voice small. Nicole reached out, smoothing a stray hair behind Dani's ear. "Because I love you. And because you deserve honest from him and from me." Dani closed her eyes, letting her sister's steady warmth seep into her bones. She had braced herself for confrontation. Instead, she found herself trembling at the possibility of understanding. They waited in silence as afternoon light danced across the ferns. Then Andre appeared through the glass door, his posture both tentative and resolved. He paused at their feet, as though deciding how to begin. Nicole rose, smoothing her skirt, and nodded for him to sit. Andre sank onto the bench beside Dani, his leg brushing hers. Electricity passed between them, old sparks reignited and new fears ignited in equal measure. He took a deep breath, glancing first at Nicole, then into Dani's eyes. "I'm sorry," he began, voice low. for the confusion, the hurt I've caused. I never meant to make you choose between me and someone else. His gaze flicked to Dani. But it's true. I care for Ashley. I've cared for her since, well, a long time before any of this. And that doesn't change what I feel for you, Dani. I'm torn, and I know that's not fair to either of you. Dani's chest tightened. She fought the urge to pull away. Instead, she held his gaze. Why didn't you tell me before? She whispered. He swallowed. I was afraid. Afraid you'd hate me, afraid you'd run. I've seen you run before, when Bill left. I didn't want you to see the side of I'm the kind of man who would hurt you like that. Nicole interjected gently. He's scared too. All of us are. Dani's gaze softened as she looked between them. We're never going to have a clean, easy story, she said. Our lives aren't simple. But I don't want Lee's heart can't bear them. Her voice strengthened. If we're going to do this, we need honesty. All of us. Andre nodded, relief and guilt mingling on his face. I'll be honest. I promise. Nicole offered him a small, provisional smile. Then let's figure it out together. For a moment, hope bloomed in Dani's chest. But as the weight of what lay ahead settled on her shoulders, doubt crept in once more. Could they navigate this tangled web without unraveling completely? That evening, the rusted spur buzzed with the low hum of locals sharing tales under neon lights. The scent of sawdust and spilt beer hovered in the air. Andre slipped inside, searching for Ashley amid the tables and bar stools. He found her seated alone at a high-top table, sketchbook open before her. In the glow of the overhead bulbs, she looked ethereal, pensive, yet determined. Andre approached, and she closed her sketchbook with a soft snap. I thought you'd be with Dani, she said. He sat across from her. We talked, he replied, stirring his drink. It was hard, but necessary. Ashley's gaze flicked to the door as a group of firefighters swaggered in, including Derek Baldwin. Derek caught her eye and smiled, but she offered only a polite nod before returning to Andre. His posture stiffened, and Andre's heart clenched. He knew Derek's reputation, his fiery temper, his tendency to see love as conquest. Andre and Derek had danced around tensions before, but had never discussed Ashley. Tonight, that silence felt like an unspoken battle line. What about you? He asked Ashley softly. How are you feeling? She ran a fingertip around the rim of her glass. I'm okay. Sort of. She looked up. Seeing you with Dani, it hurt. But I knew you cared about her. I just didn't realize how much until now. Her eyes shone with unshed tears. I want you to be happy, Andre. But I also want you to know that what we have, it matters. Andre reached for her hand across the table, fingers brushing hers with a tremor. It matters to me, he said. More than I ever admitted. Her smile was bittersweet. Then promise me one thing. He leaned forward. Anything. Promise me you'll figure out what you truly want. And once you know, you'll follow that, even if it means choosing differently than you expected. Andre's throat tightened. He nodded. I promise. They sat in companionable silence, the bar's laughter and music swirling around them like distant thunder. Back at the Dupree estate, Dani retreated to her bedroom to sort through her emotions. She found herself reaching for the phone to call Nicole, but then paused. Instead, she opened her journal and began to write, raw, unfiltered pages spilling with pain and hope. When she finished, she sat back, the weight on her chest a little lighter. Words had always been her refuge. Perhaps they could also guide her through this labyrinth of the heart. At dawn the next day, Nicole arrived at Ashley's apartment bearing coffee and a tentative olive branch. Ashley answered the door, surprise and gratitude fluttering in her eyes. They sat at the tiny kitchen table, steam rising from mugs, but between them, an unspoken tension. Nicole took a deep breath. I want you to know that I don't hate you, she said. I know you care for Andre. And I know you've been there for him when I wasn't. Ashley's eyes warmed. Thank you. Nicole leaned forward. I want what's best for my sister. And if that means Andre needs someone like you, someone who challenges him, who sees him in ways I need to accept that. Ashley's hand covered Nicole's. I love Dani too. I'd never do anything to hurt her. Nicole nodded, tears glistening. I believe you. I'm sorry for how I acted. They shared a tentative smile, an alliance forming in the soft morning light. As summer edged closer, the three of them, Dani, Andre, and Ashley, found themselves drawn into unexpected moments of unity. Nicole orchestrated a weekend retreat at the family's lake cabin, inviting them all under the guise of sisterly bonding. At first, the cabin's rustic charm felt stifling, the walls echoing with potential conflict. But by the third day, laughter began to seep through the cracks as they navigated hiking trails, fishing off the dock, and late-night card games. One evening, they gathered around a campfire. The stars above shimmered in crystal clarity, and the lake's surface mirrored their brilliance. Dani passed around marshmallows for roasting, her hands steady. Andre and Ashley exchanged a glance, then both smiled at her. In that moment, Dani felt a cautious peace bloom, two loves coexisting without annihilating her. Nicole watched from a distance, her heart full. She realized that family could encompass complexity, that love could stretch beyond conventional boundaries. She drew a deep breath of pine-scented air and allowed herself to believe in this new possibility. But shadows never fully fade. Back at the Dupree house, Bill Hamilton returned from Haley's, wedding an unexpected guest at the threshold of Dani's blossoming new life. He appeared at dinner unannounced, his presence a jolt that made Dani's heart falter. Nicole intercepted him in the foyer, her posture protective. Do you have business here? She asked, voice steady. Bill's brow creased with regret. I wanted to apologize to Dani. To you. His gaze flicked to Nicole, vulnerability warring with pride. I was an idiot. I hurt her more than I realized. Standing there at that altar, I saw how wrong I'd been. Nicole studied him for a long moment before unlocking the door. She's at the studio. Dani found herself facing Bill amid her canvases of shattered blooms. His apology trembled in the hush. She barely recognized the man before Heralder, wearier but earnest. Why now? She asked, voice guarded. He swallowed. I got married, and as I said my vows, I thought of you. Of us. And I realized you deserved so much better. His gaze found hers. I'm sorry. Dani exhaled slowly, memories of heartbreak surfacing like ghosts. She studied his face, regret etched deep, but no promise of redemption. She realized she had grown beyond needing his validation. Thank you, she said softly. But I've moved on. She turned back to her easel, leaving Bill alone in the glow of her art, symbols of growth and resilience that spoke louder than any plea. That night, the four gathered in the carriage house loft. Nicole, Dani, Andre, Ashley, surrounded by sketches, journals, and half-finished canvases. The air hummed with nervous anticipation. Nicole cleared her throat. We've all faced our ghosts, she said. And we've all grown. Dani looked at Andre and Ashley, then at Nicole, her heart full. I forgive us, she declared. I forgive you, Andre, for your confusion. And Ashley, thank you for loving me enough to step back when I needed to heal. Ashley reached for Dani's hand. Thank you for letting me stay. Andre rose, wrapping an arm around Dani's shoulders and Ashley's waist. I love both of you, he said, voice steady. But I choose you. Dani and I choose honesty with Ashley. Nicole smiled, tears glinting. Then it's decided. Our family will be bigger, more complicated, but bound by love and truth. As hours slipped into dawn, they talked and planned how to navigate community scrutiny, how to define their relationships on their own terms, how to honor each other's hearts. The gates of judgment that loomed outside seemed less daunting in the glow of their shared resolve. The path ahead remained uncertain, but for the first time in months, each of them felt ready. Dani would continue to paint her story in bold, unflinching strokes. Andre would stand by her side, unwavering. Ashley would pursue her own passions while remaining a steadfast friend. Nicole would guide them with the fierce love of a sister. And though the world beyond the Dupree estate gates might balk at their unconventional bond, they had forged a new kind of family, one that embraced complexity and chose love above fear.